The bed creaked when Ingrid shifted, a sound that was not born of passion, but of a deep, unfeeling discomfort. He heard it. He heard everything these days, the silent language of a broken home. Lying with his back to her, he feigned sleep, his gaze locked on the small, blinking red eye of a smoke detector above him. For over an hour he had been there, a statue of a man, counting his breaths as if the rhythm could somehow mend the gaping chasm between them. He felt her believe he was asleep, and the silence thickened. A heavy shroud pulled over his consciousness. Then came the whisper, a fragile thing that drifted through the air like a ghost. "Don't touch me tonight," she said. The words were a reflex, a hollow declaration delivered with the casual indifference of someone refusing a dish they didn't enjoy. There was no heat in the statement, no fire of rejection. This was something colder, a final extinguishing of all feeling. He remained motionless, a master of stillness in a moment of seismic shift, and listened to the silence she had left behind. In that moment, he began to pack. Not his clothes, not his possessions, but the emotional baggage of the past 14 months. A collection of lies, long showers, cold dinners, sudden work trips, and muffled giggles at texts she never shared. He replayed the memories he had collected in secret, seeing her outside the bathroom, whispering, "Not now. He's home." Finding the hotel receipt for a single suite and 2 glasses of red wine, the room service order signed with a man's name. He had stayed, smiled, and asked about her day, not out of weakness, but because he needed to hear the words just once, a final, undeniable confirmation. And tonight, he had them. She fell asleep minutes later, a picture of false peace. He, however, lay awake, staring at the ceiling he had painted 3 years ago, haunted by the memories of the woman who used to trace his arm during movies and snort with laughter at dumb commercials. That woman was gone. She had been for a long time. At 6:12 a.m., he slid out of bed, a silent shadow in the morning light. He stood over her, watching her sleep, feeling the strange calm that comes from having nothing left to lose. He leaned down and whispered a single word into her ear. "Goodbye." She did not stir. By the time she woke up, he was gone. But the real story was just beginning. The story that would unravel everything she had so carefully built. She woke up smiling. He knew because he saw it all. Not through the camera on the front door, but through the small, discreet camera he had installed in the bedroom's faux air vent 2 weeks prior. A secret he had kept hidden in plain sight. From his cheap hotel room, he watched her stretch lazily, rub her eyes, and smile a smug, self-satisfied smile. The smile of a woman who believed she was in control. She reached for her phone, and a moment later, her face lit up, a reflection of the screen. A reply from him, no doubt. "Good morning, beautiful." He wondered if the man knew she drooled in her sleep and clipped her toenails in the living room. Instead of heartbreak or fury, he felt an eerie calm, the sensation of finally surfacing for air after holding his breath for far too long. He sat in the room, with its buzzing mini-fridge and stained carpet, and opened his laptop. He was not done yet. He had not simply stormed out. He had left behind a meticulously crafted trail, a web of breadcrumbs and traps she was never meant to see until it was too late. He had also taken things. The spare key to her art studio, a space she had always insisted was for professional work. Funny, how professional it had looked when he had walked in last week to find 2 wine glasses, a torn shirt, and a red scarf hanging from a chair. He had taken pictures and a small souvenir, a cufflink with the lover's initials etched into it. He had also quietly and legally emptied half of their joint account, transferring the funds to a forgotten savings account they had opened for a vacation 5 years ago and never used. He finished uploading the bedroom footage to a private drive, the innocent-looking video of her giggling at texts and whispering, "Can't wait to see you again," while sprawled across their bed. A knock on the door broke the silence. He opened it to find Silas, his former best friend, tall, grinning, with the same arrogant swagger he had carried since high school. "I figured you'd be in pieces," Silas said, walking in uninvited. The word crazy slipped from his lips, a bitter irony from a man who had been sneaking into his house for months. He handed Silas a flash drive. "This is everything," he said. "Every message, every timestamp, every angle. I want you to see exactly what she said about you when you weren't around." With that, he closed the door, letting the fire begin to burn from within. His next stop was Ingrid's mother's house. The woman always smelled of cinnamon and bad judgment, a scent that clung to her beige cardigan like a second skin. He stood on her porch, holding a plain manila envelope. Her mother opened the door, a half-smile on her face that was quickly replaced by suspicion. "Lel?" she asked. "You look thin." He resisted the urge to laugh. The last time she had said that, he was coughing up blood with the flu. He had not come for warm family memories. He had come for the last piece of honest leverage he had left. He was led inside and slid the envelope across the coffee table. Inside were printed screenshots of hundreds of messages between Ingrid and Silas, time-stamped photos of them together, and a devastating audio recording from a late-night phone call. On it, Ingrid's voice, clear and cold, declared him a pathetic little man and outlined her plan to drag this out a few more months and get half of everything. The mother's face went slack with shock. He revealed the final piece of the puzzle. An ultrasound photo, a secret Ingrid had hidden in the laundry room. "Turns out she's plenty ready," he said quietly. "Just not with me." Her mother simply sat there, looking older than he had ever seen her. He told her not to get involved. "I'm not just walking away," he concluded. "I'm erasing myself from the story." She didn't follow him to the door. She just sat in the over-decorated living room, holding the ultrasound photo. Ingrid still hadn't called, hadn't texted. She was still under the illusion of control. He knew it wouldn't last. The charity banquet was tomorrow. The banquet was held in a pretentious glass building downtown, a setting designed to impress donors and project an image of pristine social standing. Ingrid loved these nights, the spotlight and the excuse to pretend their marriage was flawless. But this time, the facade was about to crumble. He walked in wearing the same suit she had bought him, blending in, playing the invisible husband one last time. She didn't see him. Her emerald dress and theatrical laugh bounced off the chandeliers. He saw her place a hand on Silas's shoulder and made sure the photographer captured the moment. Before dinner, the event director announced him as someone very special to one of our brightest stars, Ingrid Mallory. Every head turned. Ingrid froze, her fake smile a permanent mask. Silas shifted uncomfortably. He walked to the stage, adjusted the microphone, and looked out at the sea of polished faces. His voice was steady, his hands calm. "Hi, I'm Lel," he began. "You probably don't know me. I'm usually off to the side, taking coats, avoiding cameras. But tonight, I'm here to say goodbye. This," he gestured around the room, "isn't real." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I'm here to talk about devotion and integrity, about a man I trusted, who is actually here with us tonight." He named Silas, who turned a ghastly shade of gray. "If any of you think image matters more than integrity, you're going to love how this turns out. Check your emails." He walked off the stage, not waiting for a response, hearing the whispers and the buzzing of phones begin before he even reached the elevator. The next morning, Ingrid's world was in flames. His phone, which he had finally turned back on, was filled with missed calls and texts. A voicemail from Silas was a mix of insults and desperate pleas, begging him not to send the footage to his wife. Yes, his wife. Silas, the charming homewrecker, had forgotten to mention he was married with 2 toddlers. He had discovered this detail after a drive to Silas's quiet suburban neighborhood. The internet did the rest. The banquet scandal was everywhere. The email with the hotel bills and receipts was leaked, and the embarrassment carried itself. But the real blow hadn't landed yet. While Ingrid was scrambling at home, he met with her ex-husband, Marcus. He had discovered Marcus's name in an old envelope in their attic, marked Final Papers, a secret Ingrid had never shared. Marcus, a man who looked exhausted from trying to fix the unfixable, handed him a folder filled with legal documents and handwritten notes about Ingrid's patterns of gaslighting, infidelity, and deception. The words were the same ones he had written in his own journal. He didn't need the documents to win. He just needed to know he wasn't crazy. He shook Marcus's hand, left the diner, and drove to his parents' old cabin, a quiet place he hadn't visited in years. There, in the solitude of the woods, he finally felt it. He wasn't sad anymore. He was not grieving what he had lost, but what she had so carelessly thrown away. Around midnight, Ingrid's car rolled up the gravel path. He heard the engine shut off and then her faint, desperate voice calling his name. He didn't answer. She knocked, pleaded, and even cried, the woman who once whispered, "Don't touch me," now begging for a sliver of his attention. He recorded every second of it from behind the curtain, knowing her tears were not for him, but a performance for Silas. She needed to look like a victim, a woman who was wronged, not a betrayer. The next morning, he connected to the nearest signal tower and uploaded 2 videos side by side. Her crying at his doorstep, whispering apologies, and a grainy video he had received anonymously, showing her in Silas's car, laughing and bragging about how easy he was to manipulate. He sent the spliced footage to everyone who needed to see it, adding no caption, just "One night, 2 faces." He shut his laptop and drove into town, spending the day in silence. That evening, his phone exploded, not with angry calls, but with notifications that the emails had been opened and forwarded. Silas's wife changed her social media status to single. Ingrid's sister, the only one in her family who had ever liked him, sent a voice message. "I always knew she was reckless, but I didn't know she was cruel. I'm sorry for all of it." He deleted the message, but the words stayed with him. He had no tears left, but there was still one final thing. Ingrid had always underestimated paper. He mailed 3 dozen handwritten letters, each one personal and factual, not petty. He wrote about the small humiliations, the way she had corrected him in front of friends, the eye rolls, her callous response when he told her he might be depressed. He included copies of bank statements and photos, but more than that, he included how it felt, the slow, unseen erosion of his dignity. He signed each one with the same line. "This is not revenge. This is reclamation." The aftermath was swift. Her public relations firm dropped her. Her board seat at the nonprofit was gone. Silas moved out of the house he shared with his wife. The comment section on a social media post of hers, which she had captioned, "Taking space, taking time," became a war zone when people noticed Silas in the reflection of the cafe window. She deleted her account, but the damage was done. He had already left, renting a tiny place near the coast and working at a boat repair shop. He woke up with the sunrise, fixed things that wanted to be fixed, and for once, no one called him dramatic. 3 weeks later, he received a letter from her. The envelope was thick, containing a 6-page letter and a photo of them from years ago. The last line read, "You'll never believe me again, but I want you to know I didn't stop loving you. I just stopped deserving you." He didn't cry. He didn't write back. He lit the letter on fire, watched the flame consume the words, and finally felt free. But the story wasn't over. One afternoon, while working on a boat, he heard a woman's voice call his name. It was Riri, the former bartender from the pub. She had brought him chicken tacos and sat with him on the dock. They talked about her new job, her dog, and nothing about Ingrid. For the first time in a long time, he laughed. That night, he received a text message from her. Next time you pick the tacos. It wasn't a promise or a declaration. It was a beginning. He smiled, put his phone away, and went to bed, the ache in his ribs a dull memory. The chapter was over. He had whispered, goodbye. But he had also, finally, said hello.